There's been a lot of talk here in Canada about the carbon tax and getting rid of it. Carbon tax is a price on pollution. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. An honest conversation on taxation in Canada is absolutely necessary. It's because we are one of the most highly taxed jurisdictions in the world. We are more taxed than many countries around the world. And so I want to share with you revenue growth. Here's here is revenue growth. Revenue of the Canadian government from Q1 2013 to Q4 2022 by quarter. And you can see in Q1 2013 we had $183 billion of revenue, and by 2022 Q4 that was up by 285 billion, and that is revenue from the Canadian government over a 10-year span. We're talking over $100 billion in revenue. That's substantial, and that info is from Statistics Canada. This is on Statista, which sources from Statistics Canada. So I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, Christopher, well, our population grew, and that's why we received so much more. Well, let's look at population growth over that same period of time in Canada. Population growth from 2012 to 2022, I added an extra year, roughly 1.09%. Year over year, we're hovering around 1%, except in 2022 where we were 2%. So 0.58 in 2021, okay, that gets mitigated. Let's say 1% across the board. That is about 10%. Our population has grown 10% over the past 10 years, and our tax revenue has grown over $100 billion over that time period. Now, I'm going to let that sink in. 10% population growth over 10 years, over $100 billion in tax revenue. How? Tell me, can someone explain to me how this is possible? $100 billion. So what I did, of course, me and my infinite curiosity, I went to StatsCan to Revenue Canada, or StatsCan's revenue expenditure and budgetary balance. I inputted the reference period of Q4 2013, want to kind of make it nice and tidy, to Q4 2023, a nice tidy 10-year figure, and I got all this data, tons and tons of data. And so what I did is I input this, thank you ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT to analyze the tax revenue and identify where taxes have increased the most over this period. And do you want to know what ChatGPT found? Well, let me tell you. The number one increase in taxes were on income. 83% increase from 2013 to 2023, which totals 148 million. 83% increase in taxes on income over this period. 73% increase in income taxes from households, which totals about 97 million. From corporations and government business enterprises, 45 million, about 113% increase over that time period. From non-residents, which is a withholding tax, 6.36, a lot of money, 106% over that time period. Contributions to social insurance, 36% increase. Taxes on production and imports, 68% increase. And contributions in aid to non-residents, 88% increase. Really interesting, but those are smaller amounts. From this analysis, the largest absolute increase in tax revenue is taxes on income, with an increase of approximately $149 billion. In terms of percentage of increase, the highest growth is seen in taxes from corporations and government business enterprises. And this shows us a few things. There has been an increase in corporate and business tax revenue over this time period. There has been a rise in withholding taxes from non-residents, but generally, by and large, there's a broad increase in income tax. The broad increase in income tax and taxes on production and imports show that the tax base is widening and/or rates are increasing. Now, this might actually reflect economic growth, but it also indicates that there's a higher tax burden for both individuals and businesses. So while we're talking about the carbon tax, which is a tax, and it's a tax like nothing like any other, the tax on income has been increasing steadily. And that's the conversation we should be having. It's not about the carbon tax. I mean, the carbon tax is, listen, it's just not a good tax. It's not good. It doesn't, I don't think that we can put a price on pollution, even though our Supreme Court, this is wild. I mean, I can't believe this myself, but the Supreme Court of Canada, I've got to share this with you because you know what? This is, I couldn't believe it when I actually saw it. But the Supreme Court of Canada in March 2021, I just have to shake my head. On March 25th, 2021, the Supreme Court of Canada found that carbon pollution knows no boundaries and that Parliament has the authority to address it by applying a price on carbon pollution in jurisdictions that do not have their own system that meets minimum national stringency standards. What the hell? I can't believe the top court in Canada would say yes to a carbon tax. If people don't think that our judiciary can be co-opted, manipulated by the political winds that are existing, that right there should send a strong message to say, yes, it can. How does the top court, and let me just get this up again because carbon pollution knows no boundaries. This is from the Supreme Court of Canada. Parliament has the authority to address it by applying a price on carbon pollution in jurisdictions that I can't even read this. This is so absurd. This is absolutely absurd that our top court would actually say that. Madness, absolute madness. It is clearly political. It's clearly something the Supreme Court has been co-opted, whatever the word is. There's no real analysis, and I'd love to know what analysis they did. Let's see if we can find that here. I don't think we can. In June 2018, the Greenhouse Gas Pollution Pricing Act became law, ensuring that no longer free to pollute anywhere in Canada. A price on that it is no longer free. A price on carbon pollution provides an incentive for climate action and innovation, and in jurisdictions where the federal backstop applies, it puts more money in the pockets. It is a proven, efficient, and cost of. I can't. I can't read this stuff. I can't believe our top court in Canada said this. I just can't believe it. And I don't know what I was on in 20 no, I'm not. I wasn't on anything. I don't do any of that. But I can't believe that our top court would say that. It boggles my mind. But anyhow, all of that said, back to the carbon tax. Yes, it's a terrible tax. It should not be at all anywhere close to be, a thing. But it's not the carbon tax that we Canadians should be concerned about. And this is something I encourage all of us to pose to Liberals, Conservatives, NDP, whomever your MP is in the House of Commons. Talk about this analysis. Send them this video. Send them this video with my analysis of our income tax increase. It has increased so much. And by the way, our wages have not increased that much over those 10 years. So our population hasn't increased, our wages haven't increased, but our income tax has increased dramatically over the past 10 years. That's the conversation we need to be having. The carbon tax is terrible. It should not exist. I agree. The income tax is the tax we need to shift the conversation to and ask the hard questions. What exactly is our tax money going to that justifies this massive increase? The last thing I'll say, how in the blue hell did our Supreme Court rule on this greenhouse gas nonsense? I'll never understand. Change the conversation to income tax, folks.